What is going on? I am the Inked Otaku, and this is the 7th arc of Bleach, Arrancar vs Shinigami. It's for the captains from the 13 Court Guards have come to help Ichigo in the game fight the Espada. Unwilling to admit defeat, Grimmjow goes to attack Ichigo but is put down by Noritora, which then goes and attacks Ichigo, and he's no match for Noritora. He sees Nell and recognizes her, saying she used to be an Espada, and the reason her mask is broken is because of him. Ichigo tries to defend Nell but is beaten down with every attack. Then, I guess from the stress, Nell reverts back to her original form, and as she goes to fight Noritora, Ichigo sees a 3 on her back. Nell starts throwing hands at Noritora, then he fires a Seto, which she eats, firing back at him. She's surprised to see that he's still standing, and his reply is that 3 on her back is meaningless now, and he's going to show her that. Then we see in the past that Noritora was working with Xayalapalo to take Nell out. He broke her mask, then threw her, Pesce, and Donda Chaka out in Las Noches. This is when Nell reverted into a child and she lost her memories. Nell then releases her true form, and I completely forgot that she turned into a centaur until I rewatched this. She attacks, stabbing Noritora, sending him flying, and as she goes in for another attack, she unfortunately reverts back into a child, leaving Noritora to counter. Ichigo goes to attack but is put down again, and then Noritora's minion releases its true form and begins to crush Ichigo until Kenpachi shows up and kills him in one hit. Now, he takes over for Ichigo and fights Noritora. Kenpachi is enjoying the fight, as always. He stabs Noritora in the eye, but there's nothing there. They keep trading more blows until Noritora releases his true form. Kenpachi is able to cut off one of his arms, but it grows back. They trade more blows, and then Kenpachi uses both hands, and I didn't realize that he used one hand to fight, but he then leaves a giant gash in Noritora. They have one final clash, and Kenpachi is the victor. Uryu and Renji try to run away from Xayalaparo, but end up back in the same room again. Xayalaparo is there, and he says that he can rearrange the building as he pleases. Then he releases his true form and lets out some kind of goo that makes clones of Renji and the others. He then also releases the restriction on the room so they can use their powers. After fighting and destroying clones with no end, Renji gets the idea to use his Bankai, and the clones copy, and they destroy the building. Xayalaparo then dispels the clones, then uses his tentacles to wrap up Uryu, and he makes a Uryu doll that controls all 5 senses. He opens the doll, and inside are body parts. He destroys Uryu's stomach, and then makes a Renji doll. He starts destroying Renji's Achilles and another organ, then Pesce uses his spit and makes Xayalaparo drop the dolls, which he grabs. Then Pesce and Donda Chaka do a Seto combo on Xayalaparo, but he's able to split it, saying that if it's not fully fused then it won't work. Then Mayuri shows up to the fight and takes the place of Renji and Uryu. Xayalaparo makes a Mayuri doll and starts to destroy body parts. Eventually it stops working. Turns out that he was watching the whole time with the nanobacteria that was inside Uryu from their fight, and he created an extra set of body parts. Xayalaparo captures Nemu, and Mayuri releases his Bankai, and it eats Xayalaparo. He ends up using Nemu's body to regenerate himself and takes control of Mayuri's Bankai, which ends up eating him, but it has a self-destruct function if it tries to harm Mayuri. Then Xayalaparo starts to feel funny, and Mayuri explains that he has some experimental drugs in Nemu that he's testing. The one inside Xayalaparo is the one he calls the superhuman drug. He tells him that everything should start to feel as if it's going incredibly slow, and that his body can't keep up with his brain. Mayuri uses his Zanbakuto to stab Xayalaparo in the hand, then goes through his heart, and he dies, and then he revives Nemu. Byakuya is there to save Rukia from Espada number 7, Zomonmari. After testing each other's speed, Zomonmari releases his true form, which each one of his eyes can control one object. The first thing he starts to control is Byakuya's arm, which he cuts immediately, then his leg, which he also cuts as well. He has also taken control of Rukia, tries to make her cut herself, and then Byakuya uses Kido on her to stop her, then releases his Bankai. Zomari tries to control the petals, but seeing as he only has 50 eyes and Byakuya has millions of petals, the math doesn't work. He defends by turning into a ball, and then opens more eyes, but is still defeated by Byakuya. Retsu and her lieutenant have come to heal everybody, and Kenpachi tells Ichigo to take Orihime and leave. Just then, another Espada, Stark, comes and takes Orihime back to Aizen, who himself, Gin, and Tozen are making their way to Karakura Town. Waiting for them are the captains and the lieutenants of the Soul Society. This is not the real Katakura town, and Aizen knows it, but says no matter, he will make the Oken here. Then says that the group that went into Wako Munda is trapped there as the gates close in on them. He leaves Ukiura in charge, who makes his way back from the dimension that Grimmjow put him in. Ichigo senses his return and makes his way to save Urahime again. Alright, that is the Arrancar vs Shinigami. Like I said in the last video, I thought that the fights were better. Maybe it's just I had to wait a week, growing up to watch each individual episode one at a time, so it made them seem a lot more anticipated and, I don't know, more slower paced, I guess, but they ended super fast. But in the manga, when Uryu gets his organs crushed, they don't spit up any blood, but in the manga here you can see he does. I don't see why they changed that. There's blood. There's actually a lot more blood in Bleach than I remember, but I don't see why they changed that. And then when Tesla goes to, I wouldn't even call it a fight, he just starts beating the shit out of Ichigo. Instead of him, I think he steps on his back in the anime, but he actually just snaps his leg in two before Kenpachi shows up. And then at the bottom, I don't particularly remember this, but you see Noritora there shoving his fingers into Orihime's mouth to get her to be quiet. I don't particularly remember that at all. And then when Zyralarpalo gets eaten by Mayuri's Bankai, instead of him becoming it's like he gets turned into a clump of cells that eventually forms his body again. It's actually he's actually birthed out of her body using her spiritual energy, and her using her spiritual energy, and you see here he comes out of her body being birthed instead of just manifesting from cells. And then you can see she turns all wrinkly and old. But that's it for the manga, and that's it for this arc. The next arc is probably one of my favorite arcs, although it's super short, but you get to learn about the Vizards, and it goes into a lot of backstory. But I wish they went into more backstory, but still, the next will be the 110 Years in the Past arc, which is only 6 episodes. But see you next time. Otaku out.